Welcome to this episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. I'm Eric.
And I'm Angie.
We are married with a ton of kids.
We have 6 kids total. He has 3 and I have 3.
My name's Hallie and I love riding horses.
I'm Lexi and I love agriculture.
My name's Carter and I love eating.
My name's Chase and I love lifting weights.
My name's Summer and I love spending my parents' money.
I'm Dane and I love baseball.
Our show is about our blended, blessed, and always a mess life. And our hope is if you find yourself in the same situation we are in, that by sharing our story, all the fun and all the mess, the challenges we are experiencing, it will give you some inspirations, laughs, and community, knowing you are not alone in this mess.
We appreciate you spending time with us. Let's dive in.
This episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess is sponsored by the children's book Feathers Matter. As our kids grow up, they face challenges in their life, and knowing their self-worth and their value is crucial to face the headwinds. Purchase this beautiful story to read to your kids and grandkids and start the conversation with them at a young age. They are worthy, they matter, and their feathers matter. You can find a link to order on our Blended, Blessed, alwaysamess.com page. Mention code #blessed for an autographed copy. Welcome to this week's episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess, where, we've had some really good guests over the last couple of weeks. And so you just get us today. But yeah, some really good guests between Ashley and Trevor and Jason. It's been exciting.
I've totally enjoyed it. I hope our listeners have too. I totally appreciate Ashley sharing her vulnerability with the pain and her grief journey. I think it always allows for connection with other people. And I think she probably feels that too. As we mentioned, we're part of a Gens Get Fit group, and it's just this big family of women. And they've definitely wrapped their arms around her post sharing her story. So it's been beautiful to see that in our private Facebook group. So that's been great. And then I'm not a Cardinals fan, as you guys all know, or baseball fan or sports in general, probably. But I really enjoyed Jason and Trevor on our podcast last week. It was such great insight into mindsets and parenting and all the things. So
I was a little worried about that because I know you're not a sports person. And I wanted to do it, obviously, because I'm a diehard Cardinals fan. And so to meet Trevor and him to say, yeah, me and my buddy will be on your podcast, I thought it was going to be cool. And so then I asked you when we were done, because I felt like it went pretty well. And I asked you when we were done, you were like, oh, that was one of my favorite ones we've done.
Well, if you think about it, life is a game, just like a baseball game. There's always hardships. There's lessons to learn. There's challenging situations, things that can knock you off your game. Stressful, like all of it, right? And so I think so much of the mindset and their viewpoint on that's relatable to anything, not just sports.
Yeah, ever since I met you, you've been a big just mindset person and positive mindset. So for them to talk about that so well, I really liked it. So if you haven't heard either of those 2 episodes, highly recommend that you go back and either listen to Ashley Miner and her story or the Game Plan show with Jason and Trevor that we had last week. Both really, really good. But in the meantime, there's been some things that have made you smile a little bit recently, and me too. Just some really cool things that have been happening.
We people reach out to me all the time and say, we talk about Hallie and they don't even know her. And what has been interesting lately that has made me smile is I've had several people, totally separate incidences, like 2 days apart from each other, reach out to me and say, there's something going on with people having babies and naming them Hallie, that they have noticed this trend almost. And maybe it's because they hear Hallie's name and so they recognize it when someone has a baby. Actually, our therapist, I don't know if you remember that, she had shared, she's on maternity leave right now, and she had shared that so many people randomly, when talking about baby names for her daughter, said you should name it Hallie. And she's like, what? Where is this coming from? And then someone that was in her office had a baby and named their baby Hallie. But outside of that, I had 2 different people a day apart say, there's a trend, like people are having babies and they're naming their babies Hallie, which how could that not make you smile?
Yeah.
So that was fun. Fun
Love
to
that.
just experienced that. And then
Every time I hear it, it makes me smile. It just does. And on top of that, what you just said, is it about time for our counselor to come back to work from having this baby? I mean, it's been like 8 weeks. Some of us need some.
You haven't texted her.
Some of us are needing some therapy. Like I sent like a floater text a couple weeks ago that was like, "Hey, how's the baby doing? Hope all's well." Zero response. You're thinking maybe you're going to get like "Oh, it's doing great. I'll be back to work on this day."
That's the difference between a mom and a dad. I would never text her because she's on maternity leave and that's her time.
And you got a book update.
So as you guys saw posted on social, pre-orders start November 27th. However, if you're listening to this podcast, it may or may not already be out there on our Blended Blessed Always a Mess website to actually pre-order earlier than what the official date is. So,
and you got new stickers that are cool.
I have new stickers. Everybody loves the stickers from Feathers Matter. So I had stickers made. We also have a little horse crocheted stuffed animal like thing that will also be coming. So it's the book's done. I'm just waiting to get the actual books. I'm supposed to receive them the first part of December. So we'll see how that goes. But super excited about that progressing and just being able to share the second series. My kids haven't even read it. So Chase and Summer, especially Summer the other day, was like, "Well, I want to read it." I'm like, "Oh no, it's too late now. You're going to have to wait till the actual book arrives." So I think that's going to be cool too, because the first book, they read it, but they don't.
That's cool.
I've written this book and they don't even know. They don't even know what it says. So
I love it.
They'll be surprised.
They're going to love it when it comes out. This is a really good one. It's a great sequel. And I love that you're doing a series of books. And then I just already can't wait to see what the third one's going to be because it's you. It'll just keep going.
No idea.
I know.
No idea. You let life happen.
That's right. And in that process of letting life happen, you got the coolest message last week. And when you sent it to me, like it made my heart jump. So I'm sure that you were through the moon when you got this message.
Yeah, I have a lot of listeners or, people just follow our story or have purchased a book, send me different pictures often of their kids reading the book. But this past week, I received a picture of a little girl. It was like dress as your favorite book character. And she wanted to dress up as the Halle Bird. So she had this outfit on that looked kind of like phoenix wings. And it was so cute. She had a picture of her holding the book and just to know that kids treasure this book and love and even say Halle's name and can connect with the story. That's all you want as an author is for people to appreciate the story, to be able to connect to the story and love it as much as the author does when they're creating it. So
cool. First time having somebody dress like the Phoenix from Halle's story. It's just so cool. And a book that you wrote to honor her. That's what the Painful Beauty is honoring her and then other kids continuing to honor her. And that's just awesome.
So yeah, those are the things that have made me smile. And as we all know, life is a roller coaster. You can scream the whole way or you can just throw your hands up in the air and enjoy the ride. Whee! So one other update I'll share, because some of you have probably already heard this, but since everyone's following along with our story, we thought, how naive of us, thought that the court stuff was behind us, but there has been an appeal filed by the defendant because I guess getting off with probation for being responsible for killing another human was too much, I guess. So that's all I'll say about that. More to come. It's clear that, I don't know, my brain just can't fathom, like, how on earth, do you not feel that you're responsible for Halle's death? But I will continue to focus my energy on good and not on what I can't control. And we can't control any of that. They knew that was probably going to happen because a lot of times people file an appeal. So again, we're back into like a waiting game of whatever that looks like. I have no idea. So it is true. An appeal was filed. More to come. We'll always share kind of what's going on with that with our listeners. So
You've always talked about your gut feel about everything that happened with Hallie and that individual, and it just continues to be proven right with every decision that said individual makes, that it's just a selfish person, never about Hallie, never about, anything for her ever. So, and it continues to be that way, even when she's not here physically. So kind of crazy, really. A year or so back, your last Grit with Grace event that you did, you met another great woman, another great, and that's what's so great about the event. It's for women, it's women leaders, and they're different. The speakers that you bring in, and at your second event, you had Natalie Kuhn in, and you saw a quote from her the other day, and that's just spawned some different things.
I love crossing paths with people that bring different viewpoints, different lenses to look through to my life, and I think collectively there's no way we can get enough of that. And I love my thoughts to be challenged, all the things, think differently about life. And so, yeah, she was amazing, but I follow her on social. And the other day she shared something that just, you read something and you're like, oh my gosh, that's makes you think totally different. And she just brings like so much joy and light into the world. And it makes me want to do the same and inspires me. And anyway, so what she shared on social was emotion is information, not instruction. So it's like sit with that for a second. Emotion is information. It is not instruction. And how often do we feel something and immediately we're going to react to it?
I think it's just amazing because you hear it from other people and it's not said exactly that way, but we have with our kids a lot, like they feel something. So then that must be what they have to do or what's going to happen. When really it's, as you said just a second ago, it's information, not instruction. So a feeling doesn't mean that you need to act immediately on that. And that's things that, you hear about in relationships between husbands and wives and boyfriends and girlfriends, even all the time. It's like
parenting. I mean, everything that you do sparks some sort of emotion. Like that's how we're wired. We're supposed to feel things, but it's meant to be information. And that requires you to pause, to reflect, to be more in touch with your soul, to pray about it, whatever that looks like for you, to really dig deep and connect with yourself and figure out, why am I feeling this before you react? But again, like you said, it's applying it to our kids even and thinking about how they react to things, how they react to us does not require us to actually instruct or change or respond. It's more, we should be using that as information.
I would agree with that. And I think what you said a second ago too, we've heard so many times is like slow down and process. So like take your breath, feel the feeling, as you said a second ago, understand where is this feeling coming from? Always a big thing. Is it a feeling that you would continue to act on or a feeling that you could shut down? Jason talked about that a little bit last week on the podcast that we did with Jason and Trevor. And so I thought that it's really good, even for me as an adult, to take a breath, process, and then to know that I struggle with it is just a reminder that, yeah, the kids are going to struggle with it because they're younger yet. I mean, a feeling to them is a big deal. That's a big deal. And so, yeah, very interesting. I could to read that and for you to share that with me.
Life is meant to be felt. And whether that's joy or pain or laughter or tears, the point of life is not really to stop the emotion from you feeling the emotion. Because I saw this too the other day. It was like, that would be like trying to stop the ocean. And the point of feeling all the emotions is to find ways to swim in that ocean. Because there's no way you can stop the ocean. And so much of this resonates with me because it literally is taking time to listen to your body. And if you think about it, because for me, last week, I had a hard week. It was brutal. And I can't even put my finger on why. Because this week, I feel stronger. I feel more balanced. I don't feel like I need to be so quiet and so focused internally. But I do try to listen to my body. And I think that's what we're all meant to figure out. How to swim in the ocean is really figuring out how to listen to your body. And our bodies are so intriguing to me of how smart they are. And we don't even give our bodies enough credit for that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
And I also think so much we're all so busy that we don't even pay that much attention to what our bodies are trying to tell us. So I had to go really, really quiet last week, internally quiet. And I think I am very much in tune with my body because I've had to be over the last couple years. And I know that that's hard on you, right? Because I'm going internally, but
I felt like we handled it pretty well last week.
we did. No, I think it was good. Like, I think we're getting into a good cadence where you recognize it and then you just kind of let me do my thing. The whole week was hard. Like, I was fighting back tears. I didn't want to talk about anything because I would just lose it. And that's so emotionally draining and so hard to process all of it that it just like builds up and you have to like figure out how you're going to best release it.
So for me, like I'm over 90 days, pushing 100 days of sobriety today. And what that's allowed me to do is really think a lot, but it's a lot of walking, I would call this my lonely season of life. And when I had a lonely season of life before, I drank a lot and then I just didn't feel it, a lot of things. And that was even before I met you, like if, maybe previous relationships or things like that. And so now there's all this clarity and walking. And so it's like, all right, I'm really lonely, but what is God teaching me in the alone time? And that's not towards you, that's towards people in general. Like when you stop drinking, your friends don't want to, you don't get invited to do anything because you're the guy that quit drinking. So it's just, I work out, I go to the gym, I do a lot of different things. I'm reading, watching shows on TV, whatever that might be. But I am just learning to let you sit and process it and figure out I might as well sit and process whatever I got going on in my world at the same time and showing up for the kids if they need something. So it's kind of like that's where last week was for us.
I would challenge you to even think about it a little bit differently rather than I'm lonely and this lonely walk is I almost look at you and you're going through a self-discovery of like who you really are now that you have clarity, right? You're on this health journey, but also an overarching mindset. And you have an opportunity to really figure out and be able to take the time of who you are and who do you want to be? What do the next 10 years look like? What do you want to accomplish? And I would venture to guess that you've never in your life have had that time to spend focused on who you want to be. You've had kids at a young age, right? Now our kids collectively are getting older. And I think that's a little bit of a different lens to look at it through of this opportunity. Kind of goes back to the podcast last week, right? This opportunity to rediscover who you are.
I love that. It's a challenge.
I can tell you're like, no, okay. I just got Angie right here.
So anywho, with all of that being said, you're able to really feel. Just keep moving. I'm just moving the episode forward.
I think you're just trying to deflect.
No, I was sharing. I shared.
Yeah.
I will share this. I got on the scale this morning, down 23 pounds over the last 8 months. That feels good.
Yeah,
I don't hate that.
It's awesome. This is going off script, but like, you have a different level? You. I know. Do you have a different level of appreciation for who you are right now?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can look ahead and not even think about drinking because my trainer, Michael Agnew, who was on the podcast years ago, he was telling me right when I started this journey, he's like, man, he had quit a long time ago. And he's like, the people that quit are the 1%. They're the elite. I mean, it's hard to be in the elite, which to me, in my sports background, I do still like a good sports challenge. And I'm starting to do things in the gym that I haven't been able to do in a really long time because my body's working. Getting rest. I'm sleeping at night. I'll be honest with you. For anybody that is thinking about stopping drinking, it takes till that day 60 before you really start to see the benefits, start to sleep right, and start to see your body really start to feel good. And so I've just taken that on as like a challenge of like, I want to be elite in that regard with him. And so that's why when I do know that you want to be alone and I have nothing to do and I'm feeling lonely, it's like, all right, I'm going to the gym. I'm going to go work out. I'm going to go be productive with my body.
I'm going to go focus on me. So
I have a lot of think time. I think about a lot of things. I listen to a lot of Christian music. I pray.
Most people would embrace that opportunity to be able to take time and focus on you versus I'm so lonely.
Well, again, I'm an extrovert. You're an introvert. And that's, so I'm taking the time to be as introverted as I can be currently. And I'm not around that many people, which is new for me as well. So I would say I am moving forward in those things, but maybe we aren't terming them exactly the same. And I'm still on a journey and a process myself here. So, but yes, I am expressing that right now, it may not feel as self-reflective as it does feeling lonely and wandering through the wilderness till I find the right path. So I don't know what you're laughing at. I'm actually being very vulnerable and open. I don't know. But for you, you get through that fight or flight last week and then you come across these things that we can share with our listeners and help them out, right?
So we can probably go back to the original script because we got off script there for a second.
Yeah, we can come back to this at another time, I think. Let's just get back to the script.
That might be a whole other podcast.
Yeah. Again, is our counselor coming back anytime soon? What's the question? Right. I mean, I'm serious. Not for me and you. I mean, just for me personally. I'm done texting her. I'm like, it's like we're on a break right now. And until she texts me back, I can't text her again. That's what it feels like.
Jeez. Do not text her again.
Yeah, no.
So we had talked about that last week was just an off week for me. And I'm always like trying to really dig into that. Like, I want to know why do I feel certain things when it feels like there's no rhyme or reason to it. But I do feel like my body's trying to tell me something. And anyway, I started kind of unpacking it a little bit. And there's so much information out there around grief. And I came across this article around really smart reactions to devastating losses. And it unpacks how actually smart your body is. And it takes each one of the aspects that you feel when you're going through grief. And again, like, grief can be a lot of different things that you're mourning, but you will feel all of these different components. Like, for example, feeling numb. So when you go through some sort of loss, you are going to feel numb at some point. And that is your body protecting you against too much pain all at once and almost creating this emotional distance. And you see this happen a lot where people go through something really traumatic, but then you witness them like not reacting to things or pretending to not be impacted by it. And that is a natural way of your body protecting you. And I say this all the time, the phrase, I can't imagine, like, to me, that is a protection mechanism that your body has, that it will not let you fully imagine what it would be like to go through something traumatic as like losing a child. Because you know what would happen? No one would ever have kids if they knew that there was a chance you would feel this much pain and be expected. and to be expected to keep going. So your mind will not let you truly feel what it feels like unless you've been through it, because it
makes a lot of sense. I mean, you think about it, if you were in pain on the like you're in a battlefield in a war zone situation, and something traumatic happens to your body goes into a numb phase because it's protecting you from what's actually happened in whatever that scenario looks like. So that makes total sense to me. And also what you said, like if somebody actually thought about losing a child, they just wouldn't have them. You're right about that. I think
I think a lot of people imagine that and they're fearful, but if you would actually feel what it would feel like to lose a child, no way in hell you would have kids. No way.
Cool. Question though, let me ask you this question. Let's say scenario was a little different, and this is just top of my head right now. Let's say this happened and Hallie was 5 and you had no other kids. Would you have another child then?
Oh, I don't think so.
Interesting. Yeah, no, that just came to me as we're talking through this.
But I also don't know, right? Because I have other kids. So like to lose your only child, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Because I don't know what it feels like to lose my only child. You know what I mean? So like, I think it's so hard to try to put yourself in another person's situation if you've not experienced what that feels like.
Got it.
But then you will go through feeling so angry. And that is your body reacting to the deep injustice of your loss by activating you so that you have that anger to face something that feels unfair and out of control. And this part I found super interesting because I have said that I really haven't been that angry. And then I'm like, oh, fuck. I actually have been angry. That's why I can face all of this, because it gives me that fuel. So I say, like, you've poked the bear. You are fueling me to show up even stronger. And that is my body naturally producing anger so that I can face something that is unfair and out of my control. So that's just a different lens to look through versus like, I think of anger like physical anger and like word vomit, terrible things out of my mouth. But on the flip side, I have been angry because I've written a book. I have 2 books. We've done a rodeo for Hallie. We have created a Mizzou scholarship for her. Actually, a lot of that aspect, it's out of love for my daughter, but anger at the situation that has provided me the fuel to fight forward.
It's good to hear you say that out loud, because there are a lot of times where I've heard you be like, I haven't been angry. In my mind, I'm married to you. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure you've been angry. I just think it's not like coming out like a lot of people would think anger would come out, right. But I feel pretty sure that we've been there. So yeah, I think that's really good. And then, okay, what about, you just kind of talked about this a little bit, when you go inward, avoiding things or people.
Yeah, so that's another aspect of your body trying to minimize additional harm or strain or triggers, especially when you feel overstretched. So then I think about, okay, last week I was overstretched. There was so much going on personally, professionally, all of it. And the going inward and needing that solitude is a way to protect yourself from being way too busy and not being able to think through things. So it's like I've got to almost like shut down and kind of protect myself so that I can get through each day, because those emotions and those triggers are too much to handle.
Makes sense.
And then another aspect that you will feel or do at some point in your journey is to constantly stay busy.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, neither one of us know anything about that. I do know if I'm super stressed, like I will like be doing all kinds of stuff, and it is like that's your body keeping you in motion to avoid the stillness where the grief would feel the most intense. And so your body naturally tries to protect you in that aspect and like keep busy, don't sit in it at this moment. It's not the right time to sit in it. Keep busy to just be able to keep going.
Yeah, that one I totally get. It's like, if I just stay busy, time will pass and I won't have to go like deal with this because I'll be on to the next thing at that point. And so, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. One that I think is my body has felt a lot, and I'm sure yours has too, is the feeling discomfort or pain in your bodies.
Yeah. And that is a way that your body releases the weight of your loss, and doing that in ways that are more tangible because the emotions are too much to bear right now. So you will have physical pain in addition to the emotional pain because it offsets how bad and heavy those emotions are to try to navigate. And it has to release them somehow. And you can't handle all of the emotions in that release. There's only so much tears that you can cry. There's a lot of days I can't cry. I'm crying, but I cannot like emotionally cry. But your body releases it through actual, real physical pain. And I don't think people realize that. Like, even if you were super, super stressed out, you will physically do harm to your body. And that is crazy to think about. I was chatting with Natalie Kuhn the other day, and she was talking about this event that she did with UN workers in another country that are like going into war zones to make sure people have what they need. And it was this whole like stress relief, breathing exercises, cold, like the ice baths, all of that to physically eliminate and get rid of the stress in your body. Like, it is a real thing that people do not pay attention to.
I know it's there. I mean, about 16 months ago, it started. Like, to this day, like right now, I have spots on my body that are like finger size that I can just feel they hurt. There's like a soreness. And so, I'm running every test in the book because I'm like, I have to have cancer. Like, there's something in my body that hurts. Like, in it, I was talking to our friend David Hockman about the other day. He's had it before too. And a lot of times as he said, it's the stress. Pastor David said it's your flight or fight, the stress. Do his meditation, which I've tried that. When I do the meditation, it is better. I'm out of the rhythm on doing the meditation, but you're 100% right. Like, your body will give you pain that you've never had before, and it will stay. And there's no answer for that pain when you go to the doctor, because they're like, finally, it's stress. I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah. Another aspect, which, my God, I can relate to this one too, is brain fog. Holy crap. Like, you're...
What is going on? We're in what? We're podcasting?
Yeah, exactly.
Brain fog. Sorry, brain fog.
That's not brain fog.
What?
Brain fog's not knowing where you are.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, where am I right now? I don't know. Okay.
It's more of your mind is kind of offering you a reprieve from all of the emotional overload and kind of giving you a mental break. And so you kind of are... Like, when I equate it to brain fog is where I might miss things that are happening because I'm feeling my mind is probably somewhere else, right? And it's a protection mechanism versus like feeling everything that you have going on. And it's not remembering things. Like, I feel like memory is definitely something that I struggle with, especially in the last couple of years, of things that have happened. And I think it's probably also a protection mechanism as well that your body does.
You and I forget a lot of things.
Feeling forgetful is another thing. Like, brain fog's like aloof. Feeling forgetful is another aspect. And that's your body and your system trying to conserve energy, because to remember every little detail is very heavy and you don't have the capacity for that. So your body is trying to conserve energy and only prioritizing the essential task, which is almost like survival mode, over the details of everyday life. Another one that's connected to all of it is feeling exhausted. And the level of exhaustion is unmeasurable, I feel like.
That's fair.
And that is your body letting you know that the significant heaviness, that emotional toll, your body needs time to restore and rest. And I think this, for me personally, is probably the biggest deal of it all. If I don't rest my body, I am not kidding you, my body will feel like it is shutting down. Like I cannot function and I have to go lay down. It's amazing that your body will actually tell you that.
Tells me that every day after I eat. I mean, it's crazy.
That's
It's
carbs.
weird. Oh,
carbs.
okay. All right. I eat at lunch. I'm like, I need a nap. And she's like, did you eat? Yes, I did, honey. That's what happened.
Yeah,
So
you just ate.
I like this last one, experiencing hypervigilance. That one is a really good one because it's true. Like your body just wants to keep you safe from any other harm.
Yeah, and I think then in turn you become extra protective, mama bear, right? Like my kids have called me out on that of like, oh my God, mom, I'm gonna be fine. But like you're hyper vigilant of any potential threats. And this one, I feel like that one's not as, I don't feel like I'm as hyper vigilant. Maybe initially I was, but I'm also at a point where I recognize what I'm in control of and not in control of.
I could see myself being in some hypervigilance.
Yeah.
I like to try to
Oh, yeah.
protect.
Uh-huh.
Mhm. Yeah.
But I think the point with all of this is that you feel all these things. It's not that your body is betraying you. It's trying to hold you and through things that feel super unbearable. And I think that's just a mindset and a different lens to look through, because I think for me too, it's like, oh my God, I'm so tired. Oh my God, I forgot that. Oh my God, I'm like not present when things are happening. And you almost like beat yourself up over it rather than going, oh my gosh, my body's actually doing what it's supposed to and it's trying to protect me. So keep that all in mind if you're going through this, but also on the flip side, if you are trying to help someone go through a tough season in their life, that everything that you're feeling or they're feeling is meant to be instruction, right? For you, for them. And that self-compassion is way better than self-judgment. So that's another thing. Like listen to that again. Self-compassion is better than self-judgment. And I've judged myself on how well I'm doing through this grief journey. And we all do it, whether you're going through a grief journey or you're going through a self-discovery, right? You're judging yourself and how you should be doing it versus actually having self-compassion and looking at things through a different lens.
And it ties back to last week's podcast with Jason and Trevor, talking about the self-talk that we give ourselves first thing in the morning. What are we visualizing positively? What we're going to do next? And yeah, I mean, I think this makes a lot of sense. I really like it, and goes back to something we can apply to our kids, people that are just been good friends in our lives, and trying to walk with people through things as well, not just ourselves. Well, do you have anything that you would like to be grateful for today?
Well, always. Always. I will say sometimes it is hard to think about something that I'm grateful for, especially three things. Like the initial, what am I grateful for? There are times where it's like I have to like think about it.
Well, sure.
Versus like, oh my God, here's all these things that I'm grateful for. But I think the first one is that I'm just grateful that there's goodness in the world and that I can see goodness in the world even when it can feel dark. So I'm grateful that I still have that lens to look through and I can still see the world in that it has a lot of goodness in it. I'm also grateful for hope. I know that I'm one day closer to Hallie, and I'm grateful for my hope and my faith that I have, because I think it would be extremely, extremely difficult if I did not have that lens to look through. And then I'm also grateful for so many new people that have come into my life to inspire me to rise, to give me a different perspective. We've talked about how many just on this call between Ashley being on our podcast and crossing paths with Jason and Trevor. And I don't think that's a one and done discussion with those two guys. And then Natalie Kuhn and all these great people that even through the last couple years of having a tough journey, that new people are always coming into our lives to give a different perspective on life. And so I'm grateful for that as well.
It's awesome. I'd say first and foremost, I'm grateful to be a dad. One of the things in my self-discovery is I spent a lot of time thinking about parenting and fatherhood, and for years, just in a long-term bad relationship, told that I was a bad father. And when somebody tells you that over and over again for years, you believe that. And you've always said I was a good dad, but again, it takes time to rewire yourself. And then even the last 6+ months of counseling with our counselor, working to be a good dad in a lot of ways. And just on my walks and my alone time, I've really come to the realization that I like being a dad, and I think I'm pretty damn good at it. And so grateful for that opportunity that God's given me to have not just 3 kids, but 6. I didn't know. I think if I wasn't a good dad, maybe God doesn't give me this opportunity. So grateful for learning how to eat healthier. I'm not nearly as good at it as you are, but I have made a lot of changes over the last really close to 8 months, and mine are slow. When Angie decides she wants to eat healthy, it's just an easy thing for her. That's not in my household when I was growing up. And so it's more of a process, but I am finding joy in being healthier all around. So that's great. And then I'm grateful for the fact that I decided to dive into my Bible this year. I really do think I'm going to make it all the way through the New Testament, getting closer and closer. So I think I'm at a point where if I got to December and I had to just really cram it home, I could, but I don't even think I'm going to be in a scenario like that. So God's taught me a lot of good things just by opening my Bible and reading it. It's something I've heard my whole life and haven't done. I mean, how many of us leave it sit by our bed and get dust all over it? And actually pick it up and read it, it does make a really big difference. So those are the things that I'd be grateful for today. All right. Is that it, honey?
That's it.
Hey, it's date night. So let's find something to watch and call it a night. This
sounds great.
This whole dark early in November.
Oh,
it's like, whew,
God,
put us to
feels
bed.
like it's 9:00.
Put us to bed. All right. Well, you guys have a wonderful week. As always, we thank you for listening, and God bless. Thank you for listening to Blended Blessed and Always a Mess. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and at blendedblessedalwaysamess.com.
Reach out to us on any of our social channels. We would love to hear from you. Have a great week.